Hello, my name is Samuel Knopf, and I just watched Brexit, the movie. And the movie talks a lot about Switzerland and actually as a model for the UK to follow, because it's a country that is doing well and is outside the EU. Now, as you can hear from my accent, maybe, I actually am Swiss. And I'm afraid I have to tell you that the movie is not giving you the full picture. So I live in the UK since 5 years, and I felt obliged to give you some information on what that Swiss model actually means, and so that you can make an informed decision, which unfortunately, again, the movie, at least with regards to Switzerland, does not allow you to make. The most important thing, which a lot of people are not aware and which also the movie does not mention, is that Switzerland actually has access to the single market that is equal to the one the UK has. This is because Switzerland signed a deal with the EU in 1998, which gave it access to the single market, as an EU member would enjoy it as well. Now you will say, oh well, great, that's even better than I thought. So Switzerland is not only outside of the EU, is doing well, and even has full access to the single market. Now, of course, in order to get that full access to the single market, we had to accept a lot of things that we did not like in that deal that we made with the EU. First of all, we have free movement of people with the EU. You heard right, so Switzerland has no control over its borders, even though it's not in the EU, because it made that deal. We actually have even higher immigration per head than the UK. Actually, we have almost 2 times as much immigration as you have in Switzerland. The second thing we had to accept were contributions to the EU budget, sending money to Brussels, another thing we don't like. Now, to be fair, we do not contribute as much as you do, but we still contribute 60% of what you contribute. And contrary to you, who still have, at least some representatives in the EU who can maybe occasionally block a thing or two, and sometimes you have veto rights, we have none of that. We have nobody in the EU. For us, it's really just chucking money to Brussels, and they will do with it as they please, without us having any say in it. And the third thing is something that the movie is talking about a lot, is all these product rules, about toasters and bed sheets and other stuff. We have to follow them as well, because obviously the EU is not going to give us access to the single market and allow us to export products there, which will then circulate in that market, that do not correspond to their rules and regulations. So again, we have to follow not all, but most of these product rules as much as you have to follow them. And again, the difference is we have no say in what they are. We just get the documents from Brussels and then we implement them in our own laws. Now, so this is the Swiss model as it is today. And you wonder, well, I didn't know that, but why did Switzerland accept such a deal? Okay, they have access to the single market, but they have all these things we don't like: free movement of people, lots of immigration, money, sending money to Brussels, all these regulations. They have all these things. which we don't know why we want to leave the EU. So why did you guys accept a deal like that? And especially because we, like you, we are a very good customer of the EU. We buy more from them than they buy from us. And like you, we also thought, oh, surely the EU will beg us and crawl to us and want to make a deal with us where they can export into our market freely, and they will not ask any precondition for that. But that didn't happen. We waited 10 years, but the EU remained stone hard. There was no way we could get access to the single market without accepting free movement of people, contributions and regulations. So then you wonder, well, okay, but why did Switzerland then make a deal at all? Why did they just not trade with the EU without a free trade agreement? And that's a very good question, because especially if you think about the political background in Switzerland, in particular with regards to immigration, if you think the English don't like immigration, then you haven't been to Switzerland yet. I mean, the Swiss really don't like immigration. The equivalent of UKIP in Switzerland is the largest party, has the most seats in parliament in Switzerland. The equivalent of Nigel Farage is Minister of Defense in the government. So why did we accept that deal? If we dislike the things so much that are in this deal. And the reason is that we were so fed up with the 10-year-long recession that we had in the 90s while we were outside the single market. The longest ever recorded recession in OECD history is Switzerland in the 90s outside the single market. It was a really bad time. I was there. My parents' business went bankrupt. We almost lost our house. It was not a good time. And people were so fed up with it, of having just this constant depression, that they, in the end, accepted even free movement of people, just to change the situation. And now you may say, yeah, okay, wait a minute. But that could all have been a coincidence. I mean, the Swiss were stupid. They just believed they had a recession because they were outside the single market, and they accepted that deal for nothing. You know, it would have improved anyway. Now, yes, of course, I mean, it could be a coincidence, but it's very, very unlikely, because the fact that whilst we were the only country, in the only wealthy Western European country outside the single market in the 90s, that we had a recession, and as soon as we signed the deal in 1992, growth picked up again. The fact that Austria, who signed the European Economic Area Treaty in 1992, which we rejected at the time, had happy boom times because after they joined the single market. The fact that Sweden, Finland, all the other former EFTA countries that were in these small, rich Western European countries, all of them had happy boom times after joining the single market. I mean, that all of that is a coincidence is not impossible, but extremely, extremely unlikely. I mean, it's not even 10%. Adding to that, you have, the IMF, Bank of England, Treasury saying the same thing. Life outside the single market is going to be very, very difficult. So you would not only need a massive coincidence, but also a conspiracy to make it, to deny the fact that it seems without being in the single market, you can't really prosper in Europe. Now, again, I mean, being in the single market is not enough, I mean, you can still screw up. I mean, the Greeks, the Italians, the French, if you have stupid politicians, you can still screw up. But even the best managed economy in the world, which is Switzerland, we are number one in competitiveness in the world, did not survive economically without being inside. It's a precondition for prosperity, it seems. I mean, this is the lesson we took, as the Swiss people took from this time in the 90s. And that's why we agreed to that deal with the EU, which gave us access to the single market. It's also not something that was imposed by the politicians in Switzerland. I mean, as the movie points out, we have very strong referendum rights. We can overthrow any law if we collect some signatures, and then we call out the referendum and we can repeal any law. So really the Swiss population was behind that deal because they were so fed up with the recession. Now, of course, today we are doing well, but looking back, these 10 years outside cost us a lot of growth. So if you look at the period from 1992 to 2008, Switzerland is overall one of the slowest growing countries in the world, in Europe. So of course we are on a very high level, so I mean, I don't complain. We are still one of the richest countries, but in terms of economic progress, almost all European countries, and in particular EU countries, have progressed faster than us from 1992 and to 2008. So basically what we did, we rejected something in 92 because we didn't like free movement of people, we didn't like all these things, had then 10 years of pain and ended up exactly with the same thing that we had rejected in the first place. Not the smartest move, I think. So this is the Swiss model. After a lot of slow growth, a lot of pain, all the things you don't like. Of course, the choice is yours. But I think if you look at it overall, you have exactly three choices. The first one is to remain. The second one is to exit and do a deal like Switzerland, but then you have all the immigration, then you have all the money sending to Brussels, the regulations, or you go through a lot of economic pain. And I know what you may say. You may say, yeah, okay, but we are not Switzerland. We are the UK. We will do better. And yes, I agree. Again, I mean, you are not Switzerland, yes. You are a different country, of course. And I love this. I love being here. I mean, that's why I moved here. I mean, I love the sense of humor, the individuality, eccentricity, the diversity of London. I love these things. But economically speaking, with all due respect, being different from Switzerland is not going to help you. If we went down outside the single market, and so you will, most definitely. Because, and again, I love this country, but you have a lot of weaknesses. You have a trade deficit, you have massive debt, both public and private. You have a lot of high tax. You have too much. You have the housing bubble. If it pops, it's going to wreak havoc. So you're in a much weaker and shakier ground than we were at the time, and we got a 10-year-long recession just for not joining. So you can about imagine what's going to happen to you if you leave. It's not going to be pleasant. So I'm sorry to if this all sounds a bit dark, you know, but we've been through this. We've come to the conclusion, and because we were as optimistic as a lot of the Brexit people were at the time, and we've been through it, and we came to the conclusion it doesn't work. And so yes, it is a good idea certainly to look at Switzerland, because we've been through a lot of the things that you will go through if you exit. But then, of course, you have to really look at the whole picture, and I hope I was able to give you that bigger picture with this video, and hope to have contributed to a more informed debate on leaving the European Union. Thank you.